The United Nations 2021 production gap report says, to be consistent with a 1.5 degree pathway, oil and gas production would have to decline annually by 4% and 3% respectively. The IEA's 2021 net zero roadmap calls for no new oil and gas developments. Mr. Lawler, BP has said that it supports economy-wide net zero greenhouse gas emission targets by 2050. You made a strong commitment, actually, to reduce oil and gas production by 40% by 2030. I assume you're doing this because you think it is important and part of the solution to the climate crisis. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mr. Khanna. What BP has aligned its strategy on is in accordance with the Paris Agreement. We have a new strategy. Just 2 years ago, just before COVID started, we put this new strategy into place.
Right. I don't want to cut you off. We have limited time. And so you believe that the oil and gas production must decline each year? Is that partly why you're doing this?
We think that's the best decision for
Right.
BP, and that's our
And Ms.
contribution.
Watkins, Shell's energy transition strategy says we have set our net zero target, so it's fully consistent with this Paris Agreement. And you today actually announced this new thing where you're going to be having a 50% reduction on Scope 1 and 2, and you are also committed to a 1 to 2% year in total oil production decline. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Great, and I assume you're doing that because you also believe under the Paris agreements that it's important and that we need to have oil and gas production declining every year?
Congressman, what we do believe is that hydrocarbon demand needs to reduce if we're going to get to net zero by 2050, which is why we're also providing more and more low and no carbon
Right, but you're committed to this 1 to 2% reduction every year, right? I mean, that's your policy, correct?
It is, and
let me just turn down to Mr. Worth. Chevron announced, unlike BP and Shell, that earlier this year that you plan to increase by 3.5% on a compound basis your production. Is that correct, Mr. Worth?
Congressman, our forward guidance would show that we will grow lower carbon production of traditional.
I'm just asking, are you going to be increasing your oil and gas production by 3.5% on an annual basis?
Chairman, we will increase our oil and gas production and reduce the carbon.
Okay, so you're going to be increasing the production. And Mr. Woods, you have said that you want to keep the oil and gas production flat. Is that correct? Or the
We're focused on meeting the needs of society and whatever that needs.
I don't need the American apple pie speech. It's a factual question. You're going to keep it flat, right? So I'm just getting it. So 40% reduction BP, 1 to 2% annual Shell, the Europeans, the American companies, Chevron's increasing, Exxon is increasing. Mr. Lawler, BP has said it supports.
Will the gentleman yield for question?
No, not right now. Mr. BP has said that it supports economy-wide net zero greenhouse gas emissions. BP, clearly you're only one member, so I assume when you're saying economy-wide, you believe other companies need to follow your lead in decreasing production. Would that be fair, Mr. Lawler?
Who's going next for us? Are you going next?
Yes, sir. I think we had offered up as just a suggestion. You know, there's many approaches to net zero, and we certainly wouldn't.
But you would believe that other companies, I guess my question is this, Mr. Lawler, do you believe that the science says that other companies should go down every year?
Well, I think what we would agree with is the IPCC report, the scientific consensus that action needs to be taken to lower emissions is real, it's significant, and BP is in action on that.
Let me just ask a yes or no question on this, Mr. Worth. Are you embarrassed as an American company that your production is going up while the European counterparts are going down?
Congressman, as we have already heard, demand for energy is going up in the world.
Okay, so you're not embarrassed. And do you commit to do anything? I'm just asking an open question. It's not a gotcha question. Do you commit to do anything to matching your European counterparts to try to bring the actual demand of oil production down?
Congressman, with all due respect, I'm very proud of our company and what we do. I'm proud of the companies in
so
this industry.
No, you won't reduce
the solution.
You won't. And Mr. Woods, would you commit to matching your European counterparts to reducing the production of oil like both Shell and BP are doing?
We're committing to lowering our emissions.
No, are you committed to lowering the production as Paris Accords say, or no? It's
the issue, Mr. Chairman.
It's a yes or no. You could say, you could explain why you're not, but are you committing could you commit to lowering production or not?
We're going to lower emissions, which is the source
Okay, I'll
of the
take that
issue
as a
we're
no.
trying to address.